November 20th, 2006. On this date, I was 15 years old. In the wrestling world, my favorite of all time, Sting, is the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion over in TNA. On the gaming front, the Nintendo Wii and PlayStation 3 are brand new. What a generation, right? The Superman Returns video game just launched alongside the blockbuster film, and life is pretty good. That was 19 years ago, almost 20. Today, I'm 34 years old. Sting is retired. The Nintendo Switch 2 is on the horizon, and the PlayStation 5 is at least halfway through its life cycle. And Superman Returns from 2006 is still the most recent Superman video game ever made. And that is not a joke. If you frequent this channel, you've heard me say that 100 times already, and I keep repeating it because I cannot come to terms with the fact that that is the truth. But it is. How did this happen? How did we get to this point where nearly 20 years have come and gone without a single Superman video game hitting store shelves? And to be absolutely clear, and this is also something I've said before, Injustice: Gods Among Us doesn't count. Injustice 2 doesn't count, Multiverses doesn't count, Lego Batman 3 doesn't count. These are games that have Superman in them, yeah, but they're not Superman video games. Fortnite is not a Superman game in the same sense that Mortal Kombat 1 is not a Scream game. You know what I mean? There are several go-to arguments out there regarding why it is that we haven't gotten a Superman video game in nearly 2 decades, and the fact of the matter is that none of these go-to arguments hold any water at all. So I figured I might as well just take this whole thing head on. Not only while I combat those flimsy and frankly lazy go-to arguments, I'll do you one better. I will pitch you my own Superman game. How do you like that? Welcome to Superman for Everyone, the series that opens the wide world of the last son of Krypton to casuals and hardcores alike. Every video here on 616 Entertainment is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos and podcasts, and more. Pro Wrestling Tees has the merch. As always, thank you for watching. I'm opening with footage from the Batman Arkham series because it pertains to one of the big 3 arguments keeping us from getting our damn Superman game. And let's just get into the big 3 here and now. In my experience on the internet, hearing, reading through, and participating in these conversations many times over, it seems to me that the most common talking points against a Superman game are as follows. Number 1, the open world problem. How can you possibly make an open world big enough for somebody as fast and as nimble as the Man of Steel? Number 2, Superman is invincible. Who the hell are the enemies gonna be? How are we as the players supposed to engage in combat when our character is somebody who cannot be hurt? And number 3, Superman is OP. He has too many powers. How do you translate that to a playable protagonist? Those are the big 3. I have seen these arguments proposed a million times over. Now, what do I think? I think the people who are saying these things are lazy, unimaginative, uninformed, and probably just repeating something that they heard somebody else say. Back to the Batman Arkham footage, because these are big, open areas and worlds with deeply explorable nooks and crannies for the Dark Knight to delve into. That's why I'm showing this footage. It's the closest example I've got for problem number 1, the open world. How do you get around the fact that Superman can fly? Well, first of all, I hate to break it to you, but you are flying as Batman. You're not going 100 miles per hour, and maybe you would hang your hat on that point. I'm just gliding, bro. Sure, but you were flying in Spider-Man 2. I mean, for Christ's sake, there were markers in the sky that would increase your speed and altitude, practically ensuring your forever flight. You've done this before. in open worlds, densely populated with NPCs, vehicles, buildings, bridges, and more. We've already done this. It's not a big deal. Done, dealt with, finished. If you're not satisfied with that solution, then hey man, don't buy the game. Don't buy the hypothetical game that doesn't actually exist. And here's the other fix to the open world problem. A Superman video game does not necessarily have to be an open world. It doesn't have to be Superman's version of Arkham City. As a matter of fact, that is not what I would want a Superman video game to be at all. Now, if you would like to know what my Superman video game would look like, let's talk about it. Boom! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. An absolutely amazing retro-style beat-em-up released in 2023 by Tribute Games. This is my blueprint. Now, obviously, I need you to use your imagination a bit here because the game I'm pitching isn't real. I don't have visuals to represent what I'm saying exactly, so just play along. But to help bolster my case, I will show some footage from the Death and Return of Superman on Genesis and SNES because it'll help paint the picture. Shredder's Revenge is the skeletal structure of what I would call Superman Mayhem in Metropolis or something. I don't know. The title isn't concrete. Look, we pull out Donnie, Leo, Raph, and Mikey because we're playing as Superman. Pull out the New York streets and the construction site and the prehistoric age and insert the streets of Metropolis and the moon and the volcanic grounds of Apocalypse. If you're saying, oh man, don't pull out the other guys, one of my favorite parts of Shredder's Revenge was playing with my friends. I hear you. I enjoyed that too, and I've got you covered. Superman isn't alone here. Supergirl, Superboy, and Steel are all playable in my game, each with unlockable bonus costumes representing the many different eras and attires of each character. How are you going to fill all the levels and boss fights? Easily. That's how. Metallo is the boss at the end of one level. There's kryptonite scattered around the stage that you have to avoid, and jobber robot enemies that lead up to him. Lex Luthor's stage takes place inside a facility full of lasers and sentry guns. Remember the sky stages on the hoverboards in Turtles? Those are flying stages in my game. Remember the Statue of Tyranny fight? How about we do a humongous action figure boss built by Toyman? The slightest amount of imagination is all it takes to make this work, guys. Not everything has to be an open world, AAA offering with a budget deep into the hundreds of millions of dollars territory. Which, by the way, is extremely important, because my game being much, much cheaper to develop means the bar for measuring its financial success would be much, much lower. Several of the level designs and boss fights I've laid out here might lead you to asking how any of that will really work, seeing as though Superman is invincible. And I mean, I hope it made you ask that, because that's how I've structured this script. Problem number 1 leads directly into problem number 2. If I didn't care about the way the thing flowed, I would have just... The simple solution to problem number 2, that being the fact that you can't hurt Superman, is this. We just educate the player that their idea of who Superman is actually isn't accurate at all. And I'm not just talking about how kryptonite is his only weakness, or Superman is vulnerable to magic. No, I'm talking about the fact that Superman gets beat up all the time. Practically 1 minute into the very first episode of the Justice League animated series, Superman is downed by these alien freaks who mess with his mind. Their second encounter sees Big Blue going toe-to-toe with one of them, and all it takes is one shot to get rid of him. When he tries again, it blasts him away. Again. He's not just brushing his shoulder off like nothing can hurt him. Let's go to his own show, Superman, the animated series. Livewire is a villain with electrical powers, and her electrical powers can take Clark out with relative ease. Move over to the video games, Justice League Heroes, which I've already covered in depth. Give it a watch if you haven't seen it. Superman drops a line that explains the invincibility issue away in a matter of 5 seconds.
Look out!
Careful, Superman. Those weapons are powerful enough to hurt even you.
Watch out for these! If they hurt me, they can finish you.
There you have it. 3 distinct iterations of the character, all beaten up by his enemies without so much as an actually he's invulnerable to... Superman isn't real. He's a fictional character. When there are versions of Superman who can sneeze a planet out of a solar system, somebody can just decide he can do that because they're the one in charge at the moment. When he smells somebody's baking from space, he can do that because whoever is writing decided that he can do that now. The stronger and weaker versions of Superman are all equally real in the sense that they're all equally fake. It's a matter of convenience. You know how sometimes in wrestling it takes hitting somebody with a chair for the referee to call for the bell, whereas other times simply a manager sliding under the ropes is enough for a DQ. It's a matter of convenience. It all comes down to whatever works for the person writing the story in that moment. For this game, we would just use that version of Superman that can be dropped by his enemies. And that doesn't make him nerfed, that doesn't make him not real Superman. These different variations have always existed, and they've always existed for a reason. It's really not a big deal. In 2005's God of War on PlayStation 2, Kratos is killed when a literal giant, the current God of War, Ares, impales Kratos through the chest and sticks him to a wall. Kratos dies, his soul descends into Hades, and then Kratos physically climbs a ladder out of hell and is just back to life. He's fine. Again, you've done this before. You have played so many games with protagonists that survive these ridiculously fatal situations. You've done it 1,000 times if you've done it once. How about Doom? You're killing thousands of demons in space by yourself and surviving their horrific onslaught. Infamous, are you kidding me? Look at this situation. This is Jill Valentine. These are the enemies in the first Resident Evil game. Do you want to venture a guess as to who wins this fight? You've been playing as ridiculously powerful, seemingly unbeatable heroes for years. I hate to break it to you. And lastly, problem number 3. Superman has too many powers. This one is maybe the easiest to combat of all 3. Too many powers? What? Heat vision? This really isn't any different than a shooting mechanic you'd find in any game. Name a projectile. You've shot it. This isn't new. Freeze breath? We've been icing up bad guys for decades. Next. We've already covered flight. Super hearing?
And X-ray vision?
Batman's got super hearing.
And X-ray vision.
Joel has super hearing in The Last of Us, and he's just a regular dad. Super speed? Oh, he wouldn't be able to get hit? Spider-Man has spidey senses, and he gets hit all the time. Max Payne has bullet time, and he's also just a regular dad. What else you got? Super strength? Let's go back to God of War. Remember in 2018 when Kratos and Baldur are locked in a test of strength and their opposing forces were powerful enough that the earth split beneath their feet? Remember when they careened through the sky, punching each other as they fell, exploding through buildings? Remember ripping entire trees out of the ground to swing like a baseball bat? We've done this before. Reskin the forest as Metropolis and Kratos and Baldur as Superman and Doomsday. That's all this is. Nothing about any of the common problems levied in the direction of the creation of a Superman game hold any water. And I have tackled this whole thing in... I don't know how long the edit is going to wind up being, but this hasn't been very long, has it? And I took a break from knocking down these accusations to pitch my own game right in the middle there. How you doing? Look, I feel like so many of the conversations surrounding a Superman video game are just people parroting what they've heard other people say for years and years at this point. So the next time you find yourself in one of these conversations about a Superman video game, parrot something that you heard here. Start repeating something that I said, and let's get this old bullshit out of the conversation. How about it? You know which game I haven't ever mentioned on this channel? 2023's Justice League Cosmic Chaos. Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman are all playable and upgradable. Cosmic Chaos appears to be a family-friendly action-adventure RPG game, and I should probably play it. And I should probably do a review of it, right here on Superman for Everyone. What do you think? Would that be fun? Let me know in the comments. Patreon.com/616entertainment is where you can go to support the channel and check out exclusive shows like Monday Night Blitz 3 and the upcoming 3rd season of GM Showdown. Now, if you don't like Patreon, you're already here on YouTube, you prefer YouTube, I've got channel memberships here as well. If you sign up for a channel membership, it's the same thing as the Patreon. You're getting practically the same stuff. Thanks for watching another episode of Superman for Everyone, and yes, I realize this is the first installment in this series since August of 2023, I think. But hey, the new movie is getting closer and closer. It's right around the corner, so we're cooking now. How you doing? Until next time, I love ya, and I will see you soon.